When you have your girls, you're never alone. You get together for coffee, maybe to work out, or just... We created Hey Girl, just for you. Can't wait for you to join us.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Hey Girl. I'm your girl, Kim with an E, and this is episode 30. Listen, if you're joining us for the first time, you may not know, but Hey Girl is a safe space where you can share your experiences and be affirmed. Listen, life can be complex and overwhelming, but we believe in the power of conversation because knowing you're not alone is what helps us get through. So, a week this has been, right? How is everyone doing today? Today is a historic day. Tell me in the comments how you're feeling. I want to know who is with me and how you're doing today. How was the week for you? I don't know about you, but it was exhausting. I was so happy for the Sabbath. For those of you who celebrate the Sabbath, you know we needed this rest. Um, but I want to know who's out there, who's watching, and what are you doing today to celebrate Sabbath, to celebrate the weekend, and to celebrate the historic day that it has turned out to be. As we all know, the election results have finally come in after the long wait. And regardless of where you stand politically, I think we can all agree that it is pretty amazing to think that history has been made with there being a Black woman who will be the vice president. I think that is what is really exciting. I mean, yes, congratulations to Joe Biden. That is awesome too. But as a Black woman, I have to say I feel a little something in my soul to be able to look at my daughters and say, look at what's possible, right? I mean, that is just amazing. Yes, Lisa, I see you. What a week, right? I'm telling you, hey, girl, hey. And yes, thankful for the Sabbath because we need this rest indeed. We are continuing with our theme. Well, maybe you don't know. I want to let you know that we are continuing with the theme Thrive, Don't Just Survive. I felt like we needed to continue with that, not just for October, but also for November. And I think you probably will agree that we need to continue with that theme, don't you think? So we are continuing this month with that theme of thriving, not just surviving. And I'm excited to introduce you to today who's going to talk about that. Next week, we have a fantastic guest in Yolanda Frazier, who is a counselor and motivational speaker. The following week, I have my good friend Paulette Gates, who's going to be on. And then the following week, we have a very special episode. So I'm just excited for this whole month, kicking off today with the historic news about just thriving and not just surviving. So welcome, Johnny Yates. Welcome. Who is that? No, oh, I don't know how to say that first name. Garcia is the last name. Welcome. So good to see you. I'm glad to have you guys on, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. I'm sorry, Garcia. The last name is Garcia. I'm gonna just destroy the first name, so I won't even try. But I'm so glad to see you on, all of you. Listen, because the theme is Thrive, Don't Just Survive, I have something special for us today as well that I want to share. I have compiled, because, the reality is it has been a tough past few months. I'm sure everyone will agree, right? This week has been brutal, but the past few months have as well. And so the idea for the Thrive, Don't Just Survive theme was that we need to get beyond this hard stuff somehow. And so we have talked a lot about how do we do that. One of them is just coming together on the Hey Girl show and just sort of commiserating together at times, right? But I compiled a top 10 list based on a lot of the things that we talked about and some of the things maybe we haven't talked about yet that I want to share with you right now. And so I'm calling it the Thrive, Don't Just Survive top 10 list for how we can basically live our best life and make sure that we are living it well. And so here we go, top 10 list from the 10th thing down to the number one thing that I'm going to share with each of you so that you can thrive, not just survive. And the number 10 on the list is seek professional help. And that's something that we actually have talked about before. And I think it's so important that we don't devalue the importance of seeking help, because when times are hard, sometimes it's not enough to just talk to family and friends or even, your girlfriends. Sometimes we need to go outside of ourselves to individuals who are professionally prepared to give us the tools we need to get through the hard things. And I think we just need to acknowledge that sometimes and not be shamed about that. And let me just say, this is probably not a popular opinion, but can I just say, I'm not talking about your pastor, right? I think pastors are expected to do way more than they're equipped to do. I think they are there for spiritual counseling. Number 7, indulge your senses. So that could be something as simple as lighting a candle, getting your favorite lotion, some fragrance that you really love. Maybe you have a favorite blanket that really is cozy. After a hard day at work, something as simple as that can lighten your mood. There's a group also that's called Piano Guys that I really enjoy. I don't know what kind of music you like, but even just playing your favorite music can go a long way in just making you feel better after a long, hard day. Indulging in one of those things or a couple of those things that you really enjoy can go a long way in helping you feel better. Just sort of giving yourself a little mini retreat, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes after the end of a long day, to get to a better mental space. There's also an Instagram page. Number 6 is make a virtual escape. There's an Instagram page called Window Swap. I don't know how many of you have heard of it before, but these people started sharing pictures of their window during, and it took off. So people all over the world have begun sharing what the picture of their looks like outside of their window, because they were stuck inside. They were just sort of bemoaning their lot in life, and oh, look what I have to look at all day. But people who lived in other places were like, oh, that's amazing. Let me show you what I have to look at all day. And next thing you knew, it turned into this Instagram page where all these different people from all over the world were sharing what it looked like for them outside their window. And it's amazing because you can get to experience what someone's life looks like on the other side of the world outside their window without ever leaving home. And I just thought, what an awesome way to have a virtual escape without when you're not able to leave home. So there's a way to sort of escape without leaving home. And there are times also when I have just pulled up this on YouTube. They have this meditative music called focus music. I don't know if any of you have ever looked at or used to YouTube and listened to the focus instrumental music, maybe when you're working, just as background music. But the visuals for the YouTube page is very sort of it's escapist. When you just want to be someplace else, maybe taking a couple of minutes to just sit back and just look at those images and imagine yourself somewhere else can also take you to another place mentally that might help you to kind of feel a little better when you're feeling like life in the moment is getting too much. Number 5 is go for a walk or do yoga or some kind of exercise. And I'm not talking about something brutal. I'm talking about something refreshing, something that gets your blood circulating, gets your heart pumping, and makes you feel good afterwards. There's nothing better than that. Number 4, what about donating time to a charitable cause? There's nothing that makes you feel better than giving back to the community in some way. I mean, we often talk about not having enough time, but we're not talking about giving a whole bunch of time. I'm talking about an hour a month or 30 minutes out of your day to just do something kind for someone else. I mean, you could think of a million ways that you can help someone out. And it may be as simple as, I helped a lady the other day who was in the grocery line searching through her purse for the right amount of money to pay for her groceries. And I just reached in my wallet and paid the difference. I mean, something as simple as that even doesn't take any time, but you can feel so good just having made some difference for someone else. And sometimes stepping outside of yourself and your own stuff can enlighten your mood as well. And then number 3, what about having a Zoom reunion or game night? Now, I know we are sick of Zoom conference calls and meetings for work, but why not try to turn Zoom into something fun and a way to get together with friends and family? Plan something that will allow you to get together with others, particularly during this time when we're not getting together face to face as much. Maybe planning something virtually that will allow you to connect is a way to lighten the heaviness of life as well. And then number 2, what about keeping a gratitude journal? What about writing down 1, 2, 3 things that you're thankful for today? And even if it's as simple as, I'm thankful that I woke up, I'm thankful that I'm breathing, I'm thankful that I have my family, that I have life, that I have health. You could probably think of any number of things that you can be thankful for. And writing them down helps to remind you of that. So then you can look back on it when you're having a tough day as well. And certainly that can be a good thing as well. And then the number 1 way to thrive, not just survive, is reading a daily psalm. And a friend of mine told me about this, which I thought was a really novel idea. She takes the date, whatever the date is, and uses that as the psalm that she goes to read each day. So today is November the 7th, so she would read Psalm chapter 11, verse 7. And that's the verse that she would just meditate on for the day. And I thought, oh, that's a novel idea, because we often think, in our own Bible study, maybe we're like, oh, I don't know where to start or what to read. And that's just sort of an easy way to start, at least, and a place to go. And then and it's interesting, every time I've done that, the verse seems really appropriate for that day. And it's like amazing how that works. But another tip that I've heard is that if we read God's word to know God and not just to get something for ourselves, we may learn something that is beneficial, that goes beyond us. And I think that that's a really important lesson as well. Because I think a lot of times we're always looking for, how is this going to benefit me? But maybe our attitude should be, what can I know about God? Period. And just see where that takes you. So there you go, guys. That's the top 10 ways that we can thrive, not just survive. And I hope that something on that list will spark something for you that will help you to find some positive out of all the negative that is around us every day. So before I introduce you to our guest for today, I do want to mention one last thing that I'm super excited about. I mentioned last week that we have opened the Hey Girl store, and I just want to show you one of the products from the Hey Girl store. Isn't that the cutest little thing? It's the Hey Girl mug, and it says, every morning starts a new page in your story. And so I want to encourage you. This is another thing. I should put this on the Thrive, Don't Just Survive top 10 list. Have a cup of coffee or tea in your Hey Girl mug. But I also want to remind you to keep drinking your Hey Girl tea in your Hey Girl mug, because why not? And then I also have the Hey Girl fanny pack. How cute is that? My daughter has already claimed it for her own, but these are just 2 of the items that you can find on the Hey Girl store. So be sure to check that out. And I'll be showing you some other cute stuff from there as we go along. All right. Well, enough of that. I want to see if anyone else has joined us in the chat. Hello to all of you who are there. I'm glad you're here, and I am so excited to introduce you to my very special friend who is with us today. Her name is Bren Herrera, and Bren is a bilingual, award winning celebrity chef. We are very privileged to have her with us today because she's super busy and super in demand. She's a celebrity chef, TV host, spokeswoman, actress, author, speaker with a remarkable ability to curate and tell stories that matter. She's from Havana, Cuba, raised in Washington, D.C. She fell in love with cooking when she was 7. Her mother introduced her to the art of pressure cooking. She left a lofty career in law and turned to cooking as her way to celebrate her Afro Cuban roots, but also to entertain through dynamic experiences. In her very soulful kitchen, she combines Cuba's vibrant plate, seeded to African and Spanish culture and cuisine with modern flavors and textures to create memorable and smart dishes. She is a highly sought after media personality whose work is featured globally. She has friends in high places, and she's been featured on many television programs, The Today Show, CNN, Telemundo, ABC, Fox, Food Network. I mean, this chick is all over the place. I can't even keep up. But aside from all of that, she's also a close friend, and she teaches my daughter cooking classes of all things. I mean, in the midst of everything else, Bren Herrera is a wonderful person, and I'm so thrilled that she's willing to join us today on Hey Girl. So, if you would please welcome Bren Herrera to the Hey Girl Show. So glad to have you, Bren.
Hey Kim, how are you? Hey girl, hey girl,
Hey
hey,
girl.
hey girl, hey, hey
Hey
Kim and
girl.
all of
Hey.
Kim's awesome viewers. I'm so glad that you guys are spending Saturday evening with her tonight.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And we were talking before the show about what a day.
Girl, literally,
So,
girl, what a day,
oh,
right? Oh my
perfect.
goodness.
I'm telling you. And you're wearing your Black Girl Magic shirt,
Yes,
which
I
is
am black.
perfect.
Let me see, Black Girl Magic, because literally Kamala Harris representing
I
for all the
mean,
fabulous black and women of color out there.
yes, I mean, and she literally encompasses all of that. Like she's Black, she's Indian, she's Caribbean, she's
All
like
that, all that. I mean,
all of it.
she's coming with it. She's got the smarts, the degrees, um,
HBCU, she's got like
HBCUs,
everything.
AKA, like she covers it all, girl. She's a mother,
Everything.
a wife, a lawyer, a judge.
She got it all.
Girl, she's got it all. I mean, honestly, like I'm here in DC, and it's just such an exciting day because, and I love you so much, Kim, that I did not go downtown today, as I had. Like my first reaction this morning when I got the news was to run down to DC and just kind of be a part of the festivities and the
Because they're
energy and the
dancing in the
vibe.
street. Yeah,
Like literally, we are. Yeah.
I appreciate you not bailing on me. I
Oh,
do.
girl, I was like,
I
oh, it's so
realize.
exciting. But I put on a face of makeup not only for you because I'm gonna go make my way down there this evening. Because just
I'm
again,
sure
what
the
a
party will
historic,
still be
yeah,
going on.
yeah, what a historic day to just be here to celebrate and see 4 years of a nightmare finally come to an end. And I'm just so privileged, honestly, to be literally here in DC where I get to drive down and be a part of the festivities. So it's really, truly an exciting day. And so what a great day to be with you also, like just perfect time.
I know, Black Girl Magic, all the
Magic.
way. And the fact that we're talking about thriving, not just surviving,
Right, right.
because we've been through so much in the last 4 years, in the
Right,
last
right.
year, in the last few months, in the last week,
Right. The last 48 hours have been
last
tested.
day.
Where are these results? Right, right, right.
So we've survived, and
Yeah, for sure.
so yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how everything has turned out. So just to start off, just tell us a little bit about you and about where you've come from and how you um, let's just start from where you've come from. A little bit about your background, and since we're beginning with the whole political scene, I know that you've
Right.
been involved in activism and that sort of thing. So talk a little bit about your background, and then some of the activist type things that you've been involved in, and
Yeah.
then
So
we'll go into some of the other stuff.
all the fun stuff. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me on and just kind of sharing your platform for me to share the story. And one of the things that you said before, um, was that, every day is a new day to tell our story. And I think it's incredibly important to share our story, because if we don't share our story, I feel like it's a missed opportunity to testify to somebody else and be a witness to somebody else who may need to hear that they're not alone in going through or experiencing what it is that they're experiencing. And so to be totally transparent, I really struggle with telling my story more openly and more in a more transparent way. So it's something that I pray about. It's something that I work on very intentionally. And I'm not even anywhere where I want to be with that. But I'm thankful that I do get to share my story and that I'm being intentional about it, because where I come from and how I got to where I am, I'm getting to be more and more proud of, and just really humble, honestly. So I was born in Cuba, from very humble beginnings, communist, socialist Cuba. And we migrated to Miami back in the 80s. And then my father took a job with the government, the US government here in DC. So I'm literally born in Cuba, was in Miami for a very short amount of time. And then we came to Washington. And so my father's a career journalist. And my entire life, I've been exposed to understanding global economies, global culture, and global democracies and lack thereof, i.e. in Cuba. So I've always had this really strong foundation of understanding how countries thrive or how they don't thrive. And then I just took a natural affinity for wanting to understand politics and wanting to understand the players in it. And my father was a really great conduit to that, obviously, because he was a political journalist and he's covered many, many presidential races. And I mean, he's done it all, right? So, and then again, just being in a home where all that was spoken about. So fast forward, I started law school, came out because I wanted to just kind of really figure out if that's what I really wanted to do. And in the process, became really enamored with legal theory, legal rhetoric, and understanding how arguments are made that sustain one side or the other. And I mention that to say that ultimately, when I came out of law and I started pursuing art, because I am an artist in my heart, classically trained, etc., I realized that understanding how two sides operate can really bring you to respecting the other side. So this is probably one of the very first times that I say it publicly, but my father is a staunch Republican and Trump supporter, and we are Black people from the islands. And so having been in a home where there was, and it wasn't contentious as a child because, you just kind of follow in your parents' footsteps. But as I became my own person and my own woman and an adult that could think for herself, I was like, something just doesn't add up here. And so in this whole process, namely in the last 4 years, understanding that people have a story to tell and they come to making decisions and feeling certain ways, and in this case, voting a certain way based on their experiences, I have come to understand, maybe respect here and there, but definitely come to understand that we each have a unique story and a unique circumstance and a unique journey. And so I'm not here to throw shade on anybody that goes in one direction or the other. I'm here to really support open-mindedness.
Yeah.
And so, so I have taken to activism because I come from this home environment where my dad and I vehemently disagree. And my father's one of the smartest people I know. But again, we just vehemently disagree on politics, things that represent who we are as an immigrant family. And so, I speak on the streets, I speak on women's rights, I speak on immigrant rights, I speak on civil and social rights. And again, all these things that I've gone through as a child, as an immigrant child, and now as an adult that understands and has really gotten a really good purview. I think it's important to use my voice through my experiences to really advocate for the things that I think are important. And again, that's for me, women's rights, immigrant rights, and social and civil issues. So that's where I am today. And
Yeah.
that's not even like my professional work, but that's just where the foundation of the passion, if you will.
Right. Yeah. So, but you and your dad, in spite of your differences, still get along, or how's your relationship?
Yeah. So this is a really touchy subject, and I
Yeah.
grew up in a really Christian. I'm like you, Seventh Day Adventist, and just biblical Christian tenets and teachings. And so my family, we're like this. Like I have 4 siblings, and we talk every day. My entire family, right? Like we have a WhatsApp group chat, and we literally check in with each other several times a day. So although things are now on the mend, there was definitely a time, and there have been times in our relationship that it's been challenging. It's been challenging. I've gone to counseling. I've gone to Pastor Wright to kind of help me navigate and understand that parent-child relationship, and especially when you try to compartmentalize the fact that you were born and raised in this Christian environment, but you are still an autonomous person and you are an adult that thinks for herself, but you've got a parent who does not agree with you at all and doesn't support what you believe in. So I still actually struggle with that. I have to say, if I have to be honest and transparent, like I still struggle with that. But I have finally gotten to a place through a lot of help with my sister of just surrendering that and letting the relationship take its course. Because at the end of the day, whomever is in office, whether it's red, blue, I still have my family, and my parents are still my parents, and they love me unending. And they love me regardless and irrespective of who's in office. And I like to think that I can live in that same space of saying, cancel all that noise and say, okay, you know what? You can stay in your crazy lane. And I can stay in the crazy lane that you think I'm in, but I'm gonna still love you because that's my Christian charge. And honestly, because my heart really wants to also.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's personal growth. That's a whole other conversation, a whole other topic.
I mean, I mean, that's really complicated, though. I mean, you know what I'm
It's
saying?
super complicated. Complicated
yeah.
or yes, very complicated.
Yeah. But I remember when he first became president, they talked about like, or when he was running, they were talking about like Thanksgiving dinner when you have family members.
Oh, girl.
You
Hey,
know.
girl. No, like that is
Right.
off. No, we are
Yeah.
not allowed to talk politics at my parents' house. No, ma'am. My mom is like, there was one big fallout when Obama was in office. I can't remember if it was the first or the second time. And after that, my mom was like, en esta casa, like no more politics. So honestly,
There's just certain
I don't
things
even
she's not going to talk about.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, we are not allowed to talk politics at my parents' house. So but the cool thing is like they were over here at my place last week, and when it's my domain, then I can obviously freely talk about whatever, and he can opt to listen to it or not. But
Right.
I think we've come to kind of like a familial just
Kind of,
understanding that we won't talk about it, and you feel the way
yeah.
you feel, I feel the way I feel, and let's just love each other because you're my dad regardless, and I'm your daughter regardless.
Yeah.
But girl, it's taken time. It's taken some very intentional, like digging deep work to get to that point. Yeah.
Hmm. I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, like we were saying, like, life is complex and it's not
Super.
simple. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So then with respect to the work, I was in, like you said in the bio, which I'm so thankful my assistant drafted this lofty bio, but I was in law for many, many years here in DC doing corporate and corporate securities specifically. And one day I got laid off. I was totally blindsided by that. I had no idea that I was getting, it wasn't a pink slip. I don't know what the color is for being laid off and not fired. I was like, you know what? Like I'm done. Like I'm done working for the man because if I'm grinding this hard,
Mm.
add somebody else's pockets and I'm
Mm.
getting paid a fraction of the cost, I might as well work this hard for myself and really go into the artistic lane that I know that I was meant for. And so, yeah, in 2005, when I got laid off, I prayed about it. And in a matter of literally 48 hours, I'm not even lying, I decided not to go back to corporate. Like I just made a hard decision not to even pursue a lateral move. And I had an interview lined up at another firm, and it was like a series of 3. I went to the first interview and just did not go back, and they still offered me the job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was so determined not to go back because I was like, you only live one life, and I love what I do in the music space, in the entertainment space, and I really want to give myself a shot and a chance to go for it. So again, I
You
had
saw
no
that as
blue.
the opportunity,
Yeah,
basically.
I did. I saw the opportunity to just like leave. Like, and this again was
Yeah.
before. This was before social media. This was before blogging was a thing. Like, there was no blueprint for anything. Like, I just said, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, but I know that I don't want to do this. And it's the biggest chance that I've ever taken. And it
Yeah.
has worked out. Yeah.
Did you decide on a whim, or had you kind of been thinking that that was something you wanted to do?
No, like it was, well, I had been
Like, was that in the back of your mind even before you got laid off that this was something you
just
wanted to
in my,
do?
yeah, I think just in my gut, I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
not happy. I'm not thriving. Like, I'm really good at what I do, but
Yeah.
I just wasn't happy. I was working for really mean lawyers. And I, again, just figured, I was like, man, if I'm going to be working this hard, I might as well be working this hard doing something that I absolutely love to do. And
Mm,
so again, because I didn't know that this layoff was coming, I didn't
hmm
have any strategy. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have any money saved up. I was,
mm.
yeah, I didn't have anything laid out. So like I said, I prayed about it, and I don't know that the answer was as clear as day, but my decision was as clear as day for me. I was like, I'm not going back to law. Um, and then I moved
So
to
what?
Atlanta. Yeah, I moved to Atlanta like literally within 6 months of being laid off. No plan at all. I was like, I'm just gonna go down there, and I want to sing, and I've got some contacts in the music industry, and I tried that for about 2 years, but I wasn't making any money because as an indie artist, it's incredibly difficult to break into mainstream music.
Mhm.
Um, but that's when I really, those first 2 years in Atlanta, I really spent time kind of developing and kind of finding who I am in that art space. And I decided that I really wanted to pursue music. But then, lo and behold, food, I, girl, it's all God. I have no idea why food fell on my lap. And I was just in a place of, okay, let me just kind of go with this. And it fell on my lap in December, I want to say like 22nd. I was in DC visiting for the holidays, and I got a phone call from Fox Atlanta, Good Day. And they were like, hey, do you want to come cook on TV for New Year's to kind of talk about how Black people and Latinos celebrate New Year's Day? And I was like, sure. I had no brand, no website. Nobody had ever seen me cooking ever.
How
Um,
they know? I mean, why they call you? How they even know who you were?
well, I had done a charity event for AIDS in Atlanta. I had produced this huge fashion show for the AIDS demographic in Atlanta. And that has to do with my legal background because I used to do pro bono work for AIDS patients here in DC. And so
Hmm
I just had this passion for helping certain disenfranchised communities. So I hosted this huge I did it for 3 years, charity event called Creative Cause. And the MC of that event has a publicist who got wind that I like to cook, blah, 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 blah. And so she reached out to me and said, hey, can you come on Fox and cook? Because I heard that you like to cook. And again, Kim, when I tell you that I had no public presence, no online presence, I didn't have IG wasn't even a thing then. And I had just gotten on Facebook. I didn't have a website, like nothing. When I tell you nothing, like nothing, nothing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to Atlanta and appear on Fox Good Day January 1st, 2008. And that literally changed the game. I had no idea what I was doing. Like when I tell you none, like I'd never been on TV ever. Uh, and if I show my outfit, I should have given you that picture because yeah, that picture's hilarious. Like I was wearing the most horrible, like it was horrible. And it was a 2-hour hit. But literally everything like blew up. I got my website up that day. And then I got a call 2 months later from Emeril Lagasse,
Uh-huh.
who invited me to cook on his show at Discovery Channel. And then, as they say, the rest is her story. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Once you make that connection,
Yeah.
other things kind of roll
Everything
into.
kind of snowballed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to back up for a second because you went to Atlanta with, I'm assuming, no job because you said you
Nope.
had no
No.
plans.
Yeah.
So
No
like,
job.
what were you doing to live? Were you like waiting tables? I mean, what are you doing in the
No.
meantime?
So I stayed with my cousins, my older cousins who they're from New York. They've been there forever. So I stayed with my cousins for 3 months, and I literally styled girlfriends because I'm big into fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just launched an online designer and vintage boutique, like selling designer clothes, designer accessories for women, etc., and vintage pieces as well. And so I was just really grinding for the first 6 months, just styling girlfriends, word of mouth. But my parents did financially help me for a couple of months until I figured out what I was doing. But I will tell you, like, I did not go back to work full time. Like I just never went back to
doing this and that.
Yes, I was literally just doing this and that, literally just doing this and that. So all praises to my sister, Dr. Hall, for helping me pay my rent for a couple of months, probably more than a couple of months. She's probably been one of my biggest investors. And I never tell this story just because there are so many layers to talk about and share as to why and how I got to where I am. But it definitely hasn't been a journey on my own. From the, originally very much so my parents and my sister had a lot to do with being able to sustain me without a job. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that, right. I think I don't know if there's any success story that was anyone making it on their own. There's so many people who, that's like the American myth, isn't it?
Right.
The individualistic
pull yourself up by the,
pull yourself up by your, nobody does that.
Nobody does that. No. Nobody does that. Yeah.
No matter how successful they are, no matter how brilliant they are, they had to have somebody along the way.
For sure.
Who supported them, who helped them. So what during the early days, what was the hardest part? When did what was the hardest part?
Not asking for help. Right. I still 15 years later still profoundly struggle with asking for help. I just struggle with asking for help. It takes me, and it's not an ego thing. It's not a pride thing. Maybe it's a shame thing. And so I'm using words that are for my benefit, practicing using words that make me vulnerable, because if you're not vulnerable, you will really have a hard time getting to where you want to go. And so I would say that asking for help, both physical capital help, but also financial help. Like I just have never asked for help in that way. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I now tell my mentees and my branding clients, that you need to ask for help. Like there should be no shame in wanting to ask for help, because you're asking for help means that you have a goal, you have a vision, you have somewhere to go, and you need help getting there. So that's probably one of the biggest mistakes and one of the biggest challenges that I experienced. So in addition to asking, was also probably just the capital, like not having financial backing to really do what I wanted to do. Because again, I was entering a space that was very novel. Again, Facebook had literally just become a thing and was still it was like more for college students then. And then the platform just wasn't what it is today. So I really had no idea what I was doing. Like I just didn't. So I didn't have a strategist. I didn't have a manager. I didn't have an assistant. I didn't have a business person to say, hey, this is who you are. This is what you want to do. Yeah. This is where I think I can help you now. Like I just didn't have, I did not have a blueprint or roadmap at all. I figured it out day by day. Like no lie.
You're hacking through the wilderness basically, because there was no path.
There was no path. Like I literally, for sure. I like that. I did it. I literally I had my hacksaw and I was like, okay, this is not going to work. Let me try this. And the food honestly kind of stuck. Like I launched the blog January 1st, 2008 called Flamboyant Eats. And I knew that I had a passion for writing stories and just writing. Like I was really good at writing. And that, that comes from my dad being a career journalist. And there's just so much power in the written word. So I had already started doing some travel and some food writing. So the blog was a very natural, organic move for me. But again, blogs literally had just become a thing. But the platform that I used to start sharing my recipes and start introducing people to who I am through food and culture and the African diaspora and being Caribbean and all that good stuff. And the blog, I will tell you, has been literally Flamboyant Eats is what literally laid the groundwork for me to do what I'm doing today. Like without that blog, I just wouldn't be where I am. I don't think. Yeah.
So you hooked up with Emerald and so you were on his show, and then what else did you do after that? So like you said, the rest is her story at that point, but like what did that kind of lead to? So you had the blog, so that kind of gave you a presence there, so people
Presence,
knew
yeah.
how to find you and learn more about you. But what
Right.
other things did you do after that?
So Emerald called. I did it was one appearance for a 30-minute show. And then I did a couple of radio interviews, and I did have a publicist, Keisha, that girl believed in me from the minute she met me on a media press trip, and she did PR for me for about 6 months without charging me. God bless you, girl. And
Mm.
she just kind of sent some pitches out there and started building this narrative about this Cuban American girl living in Atlanta who cooks, and she's got a blog and she focuses on flan and telling food stories. So then I started getting a couple of invitations to do radio shows. And then those radio shows got me personal gigs. So I started doing some private catering and loved it. Like I was so excited that I was actually going into people's homes and was trusted almost blindly to cook for them. And I remember the very first private cooking gig I did as this like now freelance entrepreneur was for a couple named Dawn, and I can't remember her husband's name, but it was her 50th birthday for 20 people. And I had never catered an event before, outside of like my friends when I was working in law. And I nailed it. Like they hired me 2 other times. And so then that just kind of, word of mouth marketing, right? So I just got other gigs where I was cooking for people privately. I was still styling people and I was still singing. I even went overseas a couple of times to sing, but I was like really focused on building my food brand and my food presence. And so I really spent all my energy on developing recipes, getting as many online hits and articles published as possible. So I was featured by the Washington Post, the LA Times, Daily Candy, which isn't even a thing anymore, Clutch Magazine, like all these original platforms and digital properties that don't even exist anymore. And then Latina Magazine called me, which I'm so thankful for my girl, Elaine Fluker, who's a media maven. She's phenomenal. I was introduced to her and she gave me an opportunity to have my own food column at Latina Magazine. And I was the first food columnist there. And so I had that food column for about a year. And that really helped also propel because I got a lot of eyeballs on me and my food and my work. And so, yeah, it was just kind of like this continuously building block of food, travel stories, traveling, covering food, and just getting a name for myself in that space. And the more I wrote about food, the more I got invited to travel to explore food around the world. And so then I finally was able to etch my way into a really nice food writing career. So, and I still do that, not as much as I was back in like 2010 through 2000. I would even say 17, 18. I was on media trips all the time covering food culture around the world, which is like the best job ever, honestly, to travel the world exploring food. And so I would travel, come back and either develop recipes around what I tasted and also write travel stories on the website. So it's really been that food and travel.
Food and travel.
Travel, literally. I have built my brand around food and travel.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to put the link to your website in the comments because it's beautiful, all the pictures and different things.
Yeah, I've been lucky to travel to some phenomenal destinations around the world and I've gotten to meet some really awesome people and just kind of see how the world thrives, outside of our American bubble,
Yeah. So important to realize.
So important, yeah. There's a whole there's literally like a whole world out there.
There is a whole world
very differently from us. They eat differently, they pray differently. I mean, it's just a whole other world out there. So, and then the TV, I fell in love when Emerald. And so this is a big component to my work. When Emerald called me, I was singing, right, and I loved being on stage, and I have a music background. So when Emerald called and I filmed at the Whole Foods in Virginia, and Kim, when I tell you that I had all these cameras surrounded by me, I was surrounded by all these cameras, and it was literally my now second time being on TV, but in a very, very different way. Like this was big money, big production, Discovery Channel, and I fell in love with it. Like my energy with Emerald was dynamic. And the producers never had to stop us. They never had to say, cut, let's take it back. It was just a very organic, seamless experience between us. And I, for the first time, said, oh my God, I want to be on TV. I thrive in this. Like, I can tell a story in front of a camera. And I didn't know what it was going to look like, right? Like, I didn't know what pursuing a TV career was going to be like. But I knew that I was going to use the blog to get to that point. And the blog, sure enough, the blog has helped me do TV for sure.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such an inspirational story.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give, based on the lessons that you've learned and all the experiences that you've had, what advice would you give for those who are listening who have big dreams? Maybe they're working a 9-to-5 and maybe haven't made the leap yet. What would you say?
Oh God, Lee, I feel like I could literally write a book on what to do and what not to do when you are a passionate person, or if you're a creative, an entrepreneur, business minded. I literally feel like I could write the Bible on how to do it and how not to do it, because I've made so many mistakes.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine this morning as I was taking a long walk. And, this is going to totally sound cliche, girl. Hey, girl, this is totally going to sound cliche. But if I could give one piece of advice that's also motivational and also inspirational, it would be to completely cancel the noise and believe in yourself. Like, do not give up. I know that you hear people say it all the time. You hear motivational speakers on big TED Talk platforms say it. I know that you hear, I always hear Alicia Keys say it, like, you cannot give up on your dreams. You hear big personalities and big movers and shakers around the world say it, right? Whether you're in business, whether you're in entertainment, whether you are in healthcare, whatever the field is, you always hear somebody say, don't give up. And I'm here to tell you, I'm totally here to tell you that you have to stay. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have said, I'm going back to law school because this is just too difficult. Like, getting money is too difficult. Getting people to support you is too difficult. Getting people to do a simple task as to reshare is really, it's just difficult. Like, it's really, really difficult. If you don't have a big household name and a money machine behind you, it is really difficult to break into that entrepreneur space, that creative space that can actually pay the bills. And so, like, girl, I'm going back to law school. I'm going back to law school. I'm going back to law school because it's what I know. And there's a blueprint, there's a roadmap, there's an infrastructure there for me. But I was like, no, I owe it to myself to try. Like, I'm talented. I believe in myself. I owe it to my parents who have sacrificed. And I get teary-eyed thinking about just the sacrifices that my parents have made for me to succeed and for me to thrive. And so I owe it to my parents. And I try not to talk about this because I get emotional, but I had to cancel out the haters. I had to cancel out all that negative talk in our heads, right? Because we're so hard on ourselves as women. We're wives, we're mothers, we're sisters, and we have big dreams, but so often people try to squash it because, you need to be a wife and you need to be a mother and you need to focus on that. But no, you owe it to yourself. Like, if you've got a dream and you have a passion and you know that you're good at something, you have to stick at it. Like, there's no other way to get to where you want to go other than to work on it daily, believe in yourself, and pray. Girl, like, prayer is the one thing that keeps me standing every day. Prayer and just and not giving up on myself. Like, those two, had I given up on myself, I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you. I could have easily just gone back to law school and I'd be a partner now, living a pretty comfortable life. But, would I be happy? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you make two really important points. And one is, I think the messaging often is that we don't, particularly as Black women, a lot of times we don't have the privilege of pursuing our dreams. Like, we have to take care of business. We have to feed the family. We have to go to get the stable, dependable job. You don't have time for dreams. Dreams, that's a luxury we can't afford, And so It's interesting though that you say you prayed and that God is the one that kept you pushing forward
Oh,
towards
girl, yeah,
passion.
yeah.
So there's the message, right? God wants you to pursue your dream, right? If God is the one that placed that in your heart and gave you the skills and the gifts to do this, and so I guess that's the prayer. Make sure that this is what God has purposed you to do. Make sure that it is Him
Oh,
leading you.
yeah, yeah. Let me
And
tell you,
you
there
go
when
for it.
when
And
you were
don't feel as though you shouldn't
right,
if He's the one who put it in you to do it.
right. So you were talking about the ten tips that you have for thriving, right? And you said
Yeah.
that um, if you pray and allow God to lead you in your
Yeah.
purpose, you have to listen. And so I think one of your viewers suggested, or that you had seen somewhere, that she reads a Psalms, right? Or she, whatever the day
Yeah.
of the week is, she goes to
Yeah.
that Psalm.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
similarly, my experience has been when something is heavy on my heart and when I am going to prayer about something, lo and behold, like I'm not even exaggerating, I do a daily motivation or daily prayer and daily sermon every morning, right? It's about 20 minutes. There's a pastor that I listen to in Atlanta. And so every single time I have something heavy on my heart and I commit to praying about it, when I open the app to listen to my daily devotional, again, that's about 20 minutes, I swear to my God
It
that
always speaks
what
to.
I'm talking about is exactly what I'm praying
Yeah.
about. And so when I've prayed
That's,
about, God, show me, is this what you want from me? Like, do you want me to be in food? I mean, I can't tell you again how many times I wanted to leave food, and I'm just right back into it. And I've thrived in it. I love what I do. You talked about Eden and how I'm teaching Eden how to cook. Like, I never thought in a million years that I'd be teaching teenage kids how to cook food. I was like, you couldn't have paid me, girl, anyway, to tell me that I'd be teaching kids virtually how to cook.
virtually, no less.
Virtually, no less. So prayer. It's like, God, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to do this? Because I don't have, you talk about privilege. I'm not married, and so I don't have that infrastructure, of a home dynamic where I have a spouse that supports my endeavors, where I can take time off and really pursue that with some support, both moral, emotional, spiritual, and financial. But like, I just don't have that. So when I tell you that it's me, like every day, all day, like me all day, every day. So yeah, you have to pray and let the Lord lead you in the way that He has for you. And sometimes it may not be, honestly, sometimes it may not be what you want to hear. But you have to have an open mind to that. And that's a spiritual journey that you have to figure out.
Yeah.
But you can't give up, girl. Like, you literally, like, you just cannot give up. Yeah.
That's good. So I wanted to ask you real quick. You talked about your parents being very supportive. What did they think about you initially leaving law and pursuing food? Were they always supportive of that?
No, girl. My parents, I come from a very dogmatic Christian home. My parents, again, left Cuba. Yeah,
right.
Super.
As immigrant parents, I'm thinking they were probably like, honey.
They were like, you want to sing? You want to be on a stage? No, you need to go to law school, be a lawyer. Your sister's going to be a doctor.
Go get that money, right?
Go get that money. I will tell you, like, again, my father was, I think my parents were shocked. They're like, okay, B's going through a phase. She'll get over it. When she sees that money dry out, she's going to go back to law school. She'll go back to corporate. And so I think that they never voiced that to me, but I know my parents, right? So I know that, and especially because they would drop certain hints. Honey, like, is your rent paid this month? Or, look at someone, so she's doing really well. And so they would just drop hints. So I just said, I need you guys to really believe in me and really trust that I feel as though this is what I'm meant to do. And so it took me some time, and it also took work on their part to just really believe that they had raised me properly and that they had instilled in me values, and they had instilled in me morals, and they had instilled in me the value of a strong work ethic and of strength and sacrifice. So
a little test of their faith too, huh?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, my parents are 100, 1000%, irrespective of our political differences. Like my parents are, girl, my mom cooks with me when my assistant can't come be with me, like my mom is here and
Nice.
some plots for me. She's cooking for me. She's grocery shopping for me. My parents, I couldn't ask for a more supportive system with my family and my parents specifically. Yeah, for sure. They may not always agree and they still may not always understand what I do, but they definitely, they're proud. And I know that if I ask my parents for anything right now, they'd be like, we got you, if they can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Can't do it without that support.
Girl,
So
can't,
tell us
not.
what is the latest thing? I can't believe we're almost out of time. We are out of time.
Oh.
But tell us what the latest thing is. You got the new show that you're co-hosting. So tell
Yeah.
everybody about that.
So I'm so thankful. Like right before COVID hits, I was like, okay, what is 2020 going to look like? Like, am I going to do more local TV? I was really, again, just pushing for national TV and more national spots. So I got this amazing phone call in February by Powerhouse Productions, a Black female owned production company. I mean, these girls, Rochelle and Sonia, are killing the game. And there's a beautiful serendipitous story that I hope to share with you soon. But I got a phone call in February. They're like, hey, we're looking for talent to co-host season 2 of New Soul Kitchen, which is a really fun, really delicious, dynamic cooking show on Clio TV, which is a new network for millennial women of color. So they're owned by TV One and that whole umbrella of Radio One, TV One.
Got you.
And so it's a network for women. And so, yeah, I'm co-hosting 4 episodes of New Soul Kitchen with my friend Jannard Wells. And we had an amazing time filming that back in February. So the season runs through January. And then I've got really exciting news to share in a couple of weeks. I can't share it yet. It's literally the biggest news of my career, like the biggest news of my 15-year career in food. So I'm really, 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 really excited to be able to share that when the time is right. And then just kind of, grinding it out day to day on this whole virtual, like we're all doing virtual learning and virtual experiences. Yeah. So I still am doing kids cooking classes for the fall, which I think ends like next week, I think. And then I'm doing corporate experiences. So I'm doing food and wine virtual experiences for large and small organizations that are looking for, virtual ways to entertain their clients and their employees since no one's going back to work in the foreseeable future.
Right. Well, I'm excited about the news that's coming.
Yes.
And I'm excited about the show. And so how do people see and then you have a cookbook. You have the cookbook, right? Or is it? Go ahead.
The book is a little old now, but it's still my baby. Like I poured my heart into producing modern pressure cooking, and it's still available on Amazon, Borders, so you can find the book online. Yeah, check it out. But it's a really great book on saving you a lot of time in the kitchen, using the pressure cooker, which is the one saving grace in my kitchen today. Like I literally do 80% of my meals come out of the pressure cooker. Every dinner, dessert, pastries, like everything comes out of my pressure cooker. So you can find that online. And then for everything else, I'm literally at BrenHererra.com, my IG, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's all Bren Hererra, just to make it simple for everybody to find.
Cool. And by the way, her food is amazing because my daughter, I get the benefit of it every week because my daughter is learning to cook and we have all the recipes in our little booklet that she provides for Eden. And let me tell you, I make the granola bars like every week.
Oh, girl, those granola bars. Oh, yes, girl. Yes.
Every day. I made it with cashew butter this last time because I love it. I'm like, every day I have to have it in my life. It's just, I love it. Anyway, so the food is
if you've got kids, I'm coming out with the winter version or the winter session in January. But those recipes are reserved for for parents who sign up with their kids. And tomorrow we're making beef bourguignon, which I'm really excited because it's like it's perfect for the weather for the holidays.
This time of year for sure. So all of that information will be available in the chat. You can find her on IG and all of the social media. And certainly if you have children who are interested in cooking, you can sign up for her cooking classes. Don't you have adult cooking classes also? Are you offering
I do have it. Well, actually, I canceled the adult cooking classes so I could focus on the corporate experiences. Yeah.
Okay.
The corporate experiences they take a lot of work.
Let us know if you start up the adult ones at any point. We'll have to share that as well. But the food is amazing. And so if nothing else, you all will benefit from Eden knowing how to cook those recipes.
Yeah.
Those of you.
I know. And shout out to you as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, like getting, Hey Girl going and just nurturing what your daughters want to do and letting them really, explore their own passions. And Eden is such a rock star little chef. Like, she's got the best questions. Yeah, she's so good. She's so good.
She may end up following in your footsteps.
Yeah.
Who knows?
She's so good.
Doing something similar. Well, this has been great. It has been so wonderful to talk to you. I'm hoping that we may see you again in December. We talked about
we talked about that. Yeah.
So maybe if you are able to, you can come back by and maybe we can even get you cooking something for us on the show.
I'd love to do that.
That would be fun because we want to do like a home for the holidays in December with a little bit lighter topic of just cozy and warm stuff and
feel good now that we're like relishing in a new president. Like I feel like we can finally like breathe and enjoy and not be so tense. So yeah, that would be fun.
Right, we can just kind of relax and enjoy the last month of 2020. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much. And thank you, all of you who have joined us today. It has been a great day. And before we take off, I want to just go quickly to our scriptures for the day. The first one comes from 1 Timothy 2:1-2. And it says, "First of all, then, I ask that requests, prayers, petitions, and thanksgiving be made for all people. Pray for kings and everyone who is in authority so that we can live a quiet and peaceful life in complete godliness and dignity." And then Psalm 11:7 says, "Because the Lord is righteous, he loves righteous deeds. Those whose heart is right will see God's face." And Micah 6:8 says, "He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth Jehovah require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." I love that verse because that just sums up everything, right? That's the whole purpose of why we are here, to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. And I pray that you all take that verse with you as you go throughout the rest of this week. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Be blessed. I love you. God loves you. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to tune in next week as we continue to thrive, not just survive. Our special guest will be Yolanda Frazier, a counselor and motivational speaker who will talk to us about how to live our best life. Be sure to join us.